Welcome to Exploring Every Angle, the podcast where we dive deep into the lives of creatives from all walks of life. I'm your host, Thomas Powell, a video editor immersed in the YouTube space. In each episode, I sit down with guests from the creative world to explore their journeys, unpacking their upbringings, passions, and their goals that drive them forward. Hello and welcome back to Exploring Every Angle. For today's episode, we have a YouTube creator who I really enjoy. He's a shorts creator called Chuchington. He makes really unique comedy shorts. And we're going to be talking to him today about his content and what drives in forward making those types of videos on the platform. So Jeffrey, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much, Thomas. It's an honor to be here.
And before we get into this podcast, I strongly recommend you to go over and just check out his channel if you have a moment. Just check out one of his shorts, maybe his one of his recent uploads. He uploads them. They're probably only like 30 to 60 seconds just to get a feel for his content on a whole. Because I feel like as we're going to be talking more about his channel and his comedy, I feel like you need to see his videos to understand just the uniqueness of them and just how wacky they are. So I really do recommend it. So pause this if you have a moment. His channel name is Chuchington. So it's like Churchington, but without the R.
Yeah, people get that confused all the time. Everyone calls me Churchington.
Yeah, I was talking actually to a friend and they kept actually, well, there was a few pronunciations. They kept forgetting it was Chuchington and they kept saying Churchington. And then earlier today, I was talking to the same friend and he called you Hutchington that time. So I had to keep, correcting him.
That's hilarious. Yeah, I met this guy and he's my neighbor. I have an office space now and he was kind of asking me what I'm doing. And Garrett told him, we're making a YouTube video. And he was like, what's the at? And I was like, oh, Chuchington. He was like, you got to make that simpler, man. Like how are people going to find you if your name is so difficult to get across? I
guess it's one of those which it can be a bit tricky, but I think once people get it and they're familiar with your content, then I think it's a name that you can then get used to very quickly once you've like found it and you start watching your videos. Yeah,
that's true. And also I think I'm fortunate, as a shorts creator, you don't have to, search Chuchington, you just scroll through your shorts feed. And so that makes it a lot easier as well.
Yeah. So when it comes to your channel, as I said at the start of this, then your comedy videos are really unique and you have a very distinct style. You have this persona called Chuchington. Obviously your real name's Jeffrey, but that's the channel name. How did this character that you created come about? Can you tell us the story about how you brought this character to life?
Sure. I think throughout my life, like I've always enjoyed kind of being the butt of the joke. I think, being myself, I know that I can take the joke. I'm always worried, when I'm making jokes about other people that I might hurt them or offend them, even if it doesn't appear so on the surface, you never know. Right. And so, making jokes about myself, I can be confident that, I'm not hurting myself. And so, I remember in high school and elementary school, even I'd basically act really dumb and, it's humorous for other people. And so this kind of incorporates that. I feel like throughout the history of the channel, I've become more and more dumb, kind of like Kevin on The Office. But, as far as the accent, it really started when I started making recipe videos. I used to only make gym content, but I was inspired by these, I think it's called, it's either WikiHow or there's like a tutorial channel on YouTube. And they had this guy, I don't know if you've seen these videos before. I think they have a few million views, but there's this guy named, I think like Mike Nyland. He's a 2-time personal chef and he does these really, really basic recipes, but it's like a serious video. He's not making it for the purpose of comedy, but for example, he showed how to refrigerate pizza dough. Nice. And so the whole video is him wrapping the pizza dough in saran wrap, putting it in the fridge, and then he goes, and there you have it, or something similar to that.
Oh,
And
I
yeah,
see.
and it's so incredibly simple. And so I
Mhm.
was inspired by, the simplicity of that. My first few cooking videos were how to make mixed berry yogurt. And it's, you take strawberry yogurt, raspberry yogurt, blueberry yogurt, you mix them
Mm.
in a bowl, and there you have it, mixed berry yogurt.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
remember.
it's,
I remember early on in your channel when I first found the channel, they
yeah.
were more cooking based videos from the get
Mhm.
go. So that's what inspired that.
Yeah, exactly. And I think because they're cooking videos, I was, influenced by Gordon Ramsay to adopt that accent.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
yeah, so that's where the accent comes from. Everybody, I don't know. I don't think I do, a particularly good Australian or British accent. So it kind of sounds like a mix of both.
It does actually. I feel like it's
Yeah,
more close to Australian. I will
yeah,
say that. Yeah, no. It's now you mention it, it is kind of a blend.
yeah. It's just my feeble attempt at one or the other.
Mm.
More so British in the beginning, but I think it's become more and more just Australian.
Yeah, and it's just taken on its own now, which I think is really great. And
Yeah.
that's really interesting to hear that. Like you said, you started because it's like the butt of the joke, like you mentioned. So that kind of humor, it feels good to be doing that when it's about yourself because you can laugh at it, but you
Mhm.
won't want to be doing that directed at like other people because then it's like, yeah, you can obviously be offending people or, I guess you can cause like any kind of negative drama from that too, depending on what the jokes are. So it's quite
Mhm.
smart, really, doing it so it's all aimed at you. So that's what the joke is really, and that's I think it's just a really cool form of like comedy you've put into the shorts there by doing this running theme of Chuchington doing crazy things, whether it's your doing some kind of recipe, whether it's you're entering a talent contest or something,
Yeah.
or there's for the people listening, if you didn't check out his channel when I mentioned it earlier, just to sum it up, Jeffrey's character Chuchington just does a load of wacky things, whether it's make recipes like we mentioned, crazy pizza recipes, or sometimes you take on challenges as well, don't you?
Yep.
We were just talking before we started this podcast, and it was a challenge involving drinking loads of water. But then the joke on that was that he needed to urinate, and it went on for a very long time because you drank so many. And a police
Yeah.
officer then comes and approaches you. Who's your friend, Garrett?
Uh,
And you turn around and you can't stop urinating, so it just then goes on him as well. So yeah, it's just that I love that comedy, that type of
yeah.
comedy. I just think it's so wacky and goofy, and it doesn't
Uh,
hurt anyone either, and it's just really funny.
yeah. No, I think I've always had a bit of a unique sense of humor. I feel like I find everything funny. Like it's really easy to make me laugh if you're one of my friends. But it's definitely not for everybody. But
Yeah,
yeah, as long as it's for,
but it's saying that you have developed a really loyal audience, it seems, and dedicated audience. Every time I click on your videos, they're always loving the content. They're always quoting your quotes because
yeah.
you have got a few quotes now, haven't you?
Yeah.
Quite a lot actually to add to it.
That's
We'll
true.
get onto that a bit later. Actually, I have some questions about characters and themes, but yeah,
Sounds
it's
great.
great when your content's doing that well. Your audience can start to make these quotes out of it and put it in the comments and have a bit of fun. And I see you often comment back as well, and there's a bit of back
Yeah.
and forth sometimes, which is really awesome.
Yeah. I find YouTube comments, a lot of them are really witty and funny and, fun to interact with. I find they're usually better than other platforms.
In general, when it comes to content creation, what does your process look like when you're brainstorming ideas? So from the brainstorming to the final edits, what's your routine to help keep your content fresh that you use? Because I'm really interested to hear how you come up with these ideas in the first place and keep it running. And all these themes. And like I said this before we started the podcast as well, it never seems to get boring. It always works. So how do you do that?
Basically, there are two kind of channels that the whole process can start at. Either I come up with an idea or Garrett comes up with an idea. Garrett does a lot of the scripting. He has a really good creative mind. And he also intakes a lot of content. And so he's, constantly inspired by new trends or, new ideas. For example, the Uno hand that we did, that was a trend that was going on where, people would have really big Uno hands. And, we saw that and we just saw an opportunity to make one that's bigger. And so sometimes we're inspired by other people. For me, when I'm scripting, it's a bit less of that. It's more so looking at what's done well in the past and trying to change it a little bit. Have a new button or a new joke, some sort of, how can we, approach it from a new angle, but follow a similar formula, because clearly the formula worked before. And so, coming up with ideas. We usually script separately. He'll script at his place, I'll script at my place, and then we share. I don't know if you've heard of ClickUp, but it's just like we use that. And if he has so many ideas. Like, I think we have. Let me check. I think in our ClickUp we have 305 in the ideas column right now.
Wow. Okay.
And so I'll just go through those and kind of approve them, or just leave them there, see if we can perhaps revisit them in the future. From there, I'll take a look at what we need to buy in terms of props, if we need to rent like a gym or something for a set, and then I'll put it in the schedule to film it. If it's something that is time sensitive, like for example, if we were to make an election video right now, I might book it for today or tomorrow and, have it done as soon as possible, send it to my editor, let him know, we need this done for tomorrow or the day after. But most of the time, we're planning ahead. And so, he doesn't need to scramble to get things done. We're actually, we worked really hard to stack content, because there were times in the past where we would have nothing to post. It'd be like, a Wednesday morning and we're supposed to post Wednesday afternoon, and we had to quickly script something, quickly film it. And back then I didn't have an editor. I would edit it myself and have it done for, 4 p.m. And, that kind of stress I never wanted to deal with again. And so we started filming, 12 videos a week when we were posting 5. And we did that for probably at least half a year, maybe even a whole year now. But
wow, okay.
Yeah. Now we have, over 100 videos fully filmed and kind of ready to have edited whenever. And
having a schedule. Sorry, I was just going to say, having a schedule like that as well, I think is so important, because like you just explained then, with like, say you're filming a video that you want to turn around that same day and upload it. It just creates a load of unnecessary stress as well.
Exactly.
And I feel like when you have that stress there, it can sometimes, the creativity cannot fully be there, because you're so stressed out and turning that video around super fast. So that's really good to hear that you've managed to create yourself such a organized system now, and you've got a backlog, and I think that's the best way to be. And I know I've worked with a lot of creators, and they always tend to have a backlog in place, and it's just helpful, and it's good because it means you've got loads of videos as well to post, and you're ahead of yourself, and it can ease that burden off you a little bit, and then you're ahead, and you can enjoy focusing on new ideas whilst you've got that backlog in place.
Exactly. When you're scrambling to get something done, it can be like this isn't exactly how I want it, but we need to get it, filmed right now. And that's not a good feeling,
Yeah.
You'll be in the shower later thinking, I could have done this differently. I could have done this differently. And
no, definitely.
Yeah, I definitely don't want to post something that I'm not, fully happy with, or I don't feel like I've, given it the care and attention that it needed.
Yeah, no, for
And
sure.
yeah, I feel like it does reflect in the numbers too sometimes,
Oh yeah,
I
yeah.
think
The
people
the
can
audience
tell.
will see it,
Yeah.
and yeah, if it's not quite where it usually is, not the standard, it's
Hmm.
not going to perform as good.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that's where the current process is at right now.
So you're brainstorming. It's split between you and Garrett.
Mhm.
Um, and it's very. You sounds like you, as I said, you have a very structured process there. So do you ever have it where you'll have like random ideas as well, just spur of the moment come up in your head as well that will just be completely random and you just
Mhm.
go with it?
Yeah, totally. Sometimes I'm just inspired by things that happen in real life.
So something
Um,
maybe you saw that day or
mhm.
something on TV or yeah.
Yeah, like the other day, I guess it was like a week ago now, but me and my girlfriend were driving and we saw this. Uh, I don't know if you do this in the UK, but um, basically there was a traffic light that,
Mhm.
you know, it's a major road intersecting with a smaller road. And so the
Mhm.
light, highly favors the major road and it takes forever to for the light to change to the smaller road. Is that
Right.
something that happens? And you guys have roundabouts.
We have
It's a lot.
roundabouts and we have
It's a lot.
traffic lights, but I've
Yeah.
seen I'm assuming because you are based in Canada, aren't you?
Yeah.
I'm assuming it's similar to the US.
Yeah. I don't think our roads are
Because
nearly as efficient as yours.
yeah, so I've seen the US roads though. I haven't been to
uh,
Canada, but I've
uh,
seen how they are in US, and it's like I guess what we call here like junctions where it's like everyone stops and it's a square in front of you, and then there's
mhm,
traffic lights each side to let.
exactly.
So that's what you're referring to there. But yeah,
Yeah.
we have traffic lights that then usually lead onto a roundabout.
Oh, okay.
Most
Yeah.
of the time, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, we do have sometimes those type of traffic lights too, where you'll be driving along a road and then you'll get hit by traffic lights, and there'll be cars like trying to turn left or right. So
Mhm.
we have that too.
Basically, what people often do is if they have a passenger in the car, they'll get out and they'll press the pedestrian walk button to activate the light so that they basically create their own light change and gives them an opportunity to turn or go straight. Whereas they
Okay.
would usually have to wait a long time for the light to favor the smaller road. But then we were driving past this intersection and this really old man was pressing the button and he had pressed the button, the light had changed to, favor him. But he was
Mhm.
so slow. He took so long to get back in the car that he was still preventing everyone. There was a long line of cars behind him from taking advantage of the light that had just changed. Like it
Oh
was their
no.
turn to go, but he's taking so long to get back in the car that they couldn't even go because his car was at the front and they couldn't move
Right.
because yeah. And so I had the idea to do a video where like it takes so long that the light changes back again, and it
God,
keeps
yeah.
repeating that. Yeah,
That's so funny. I mean,
yeah,
I find it hilarious that you have to use the pedestrian button just to
yeah.
speed it
Right.
up. Someone
It's
actually gets out the car and walks over
it's
to that.
yep. It's
That's
silly.
insane. Yeah, I don't.
Yeah.
It's so it's different over here. You press the pedestrian button if you want to cross the road, but I don't think it really alters the structure of the whole light system. I don't know.
Mm.
I might be wrong, but I've never seen anyone do that over here. That's what
Oh,
I'm trying to
okay.
say. Yeah,
Yeah.
so that sounds crazy.
Yeah. But just little things like that, like they often inspire videos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anything that happens like that, you just think later, oh, could that be a video maybe? And then if it is, jot it down and do it.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So on your channel, you're primarily focused on shorts, and that's what you've built your channel with, really, your short content. And you've done a few long forms on your channel. I think there's 3 or 4 when I checked.
Mhm.
So what's kept you centered on the short format, and do you see yourself exploring more avenues like long form content in the future?
I think shorts, I'm just so used to.
Mhm.
I made hundreds of them, whereas long form, I've only made a handful. Long form is definitely something that I want to explore more.
Mhm.
We actually just are in the midst of filming a pretty big series. We filmed 7 episodes of a new long form.
Okay.
And yeah, in the 8th episode, we're going to be building a 10,000 slice cheeseburger.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because we did 100, we did 1,000. And, everybody, so many comments, hundreds, maybe thousands of them are like, do 10,000. And so we wanted to make it a bit more grand. Instead of just doing a short, we centered a whole long form series. It's basically the behind the scenes of a YouTube shorts production company. And
Okay.
I'm just this super annoying asshole boss who, makes life harder for everybody else who's, trying to be more mature and trying to truly, do work and keep the channel
Mhm.
afloat so everyone can, make a living and sustain themselves.
That sounds good.
Yeah. And so we've been working on that for the last while, and we just need to film the last episode. But the last episode is obviously going to be a lot more difficult because we actually have to construct the 10,000 slice cheeseburger. I don't even know how we're going to do it yet.
Yeah, so for your shorts, you've done 100 slice cheeseburger and you've done 1,000 slice cheeseburger.
Yeah.
They already looked like they were hard enough to hold up. So
Yeah.
to do, how many did you say you're going to go to?
10,000. Yeah.
So that's going to be an interesting one for sure. But
Yeah.
I'm here for it. So I look forward to seeing when that's up. And it sounds cool that also you're trying to think of more long form content as well. But I do get as well why you're doing the shorts so much, because what you're doing just works with the shorts. You're doing something really, as I said at the start, unique. I keep using that because it is. I don't see many channels that have that same style of comedy as you. And you are providing that unique style to a 30 to 60 second short. And it's just, it's very like, it's fun. It brings, quite a bit of laughter, and they're quite energetic as well. And they're just so like, if you start scrolling through your channel, you can find yourself watching more and more and more. Because like, especially like when I was a bit more newer to the channel, I was definitely doing that. And I can imagine when new people find you, they want to see what other things you've made. So that definitely works for short content. And yeah, I can definitely see why you stuck to that formula. But yeah, definitely long form, I think would be cool to venture into as well. Like you just said, you're coming up with some ideas, and that's really cool. Also, you have the potential in the future. Now they are making short form content a bit longer. I think they're extending it to 3 minutes. So do you have plans there for that as well?
Yeah, totally. We actually had a couple of videos that were longer than a minute. They weren't that much longer, like 1:15 or 1:10 or something. But
okay,
they said that we could start posting them October 15th. And so I think it was October 26th, I remember, because I was so annoyed. But we tried to post one of them and it wasn't categorized as a short. And so I looked into it.
Right.
And I even messaged YouTube support, and I was like, because, that was the post for the day. And it was leading up to Halloween. So I had a very set schedule of what I wanted to post each day. And they were basically like, oh, like a lot of the functionality is actually not built out yet. It probably won't be ready until January 2025. And I was like, why release it as October 15th? And why promote it? Why say that you can post it now if you actually can't until January 15th?
That's frustrating.
Yeah,
because I was going to say, I didn't think it was released yet, but that's frustrating that you've obviously seen something, you thought it was live, good to go. Because it just creates like unnecessary hiccups then for your channel. Like you said, it's a video that was planned that day.
Exactly.
So it just kind of disrupts your flow.
Yeah.
But once it's launched, I imagine you guys will have a ton of fun with it anyway. And you can add a whole load of ideas then to the equation. You've got an extra 2 more minutes pretty much added on.
Exactly.
So it'll be fun to see what you do there.
Yeah. There are definitely some ideas, on a regular basis, my editor will have to cut things down and, shave here and there so that it fits within the 59-second requirement. So it'll just give us a bit more freedom in terms of, the pacing of the video. We'll be able to have more moments where, it's not so high energy, because right now we're kind of forced into not having as much variance in the emotional level of the video or the pacing. But yeah, we'll see how it performs. I think ultimately the style of comedy and just the style of the video itself tends to align well with, the shorter time frame.
In your shorts, we already touched on, you have regular themes and that. So, part of that is these unique characters as well that you create. So obviously you have your own character, but you have other reoccurring characters, for example, Elmo and Cookie Monster. And, those different types of themes, like you would do effectively sometimes the same video 2 or 3 times, but every time they're just a little bit different. So, how do you come up with these when you're thinking about those types of like personalities, quirks for characters, and like those running themes?
To be honest, not much planning has really ever gone into any character's personality or I guess role or persona. They kind of just are mostly improvised. Garrett is so talented at doing voices.
I've noticed that.
Yeah, he's the voice of Elmo, Cookie Monster, Sonic, Kermit, pretty much any puppet. And we wanted Elmo to be a bit of a villain and to be a bit of a potty mouth, because it really contrasts with the character that people traditionally know him for, which is, this adorable, sweet little red furry guy. And and it even contrasts so much with just his appearance. He's so cute. And so that was the idea behind that one. I think Cookie Monster, is pretty quintessential Cookie Monster, just obsessed with cookies. The other
Sonic as well.
Yeah, Sonic is just, I think Sonic is so, high energy. It makes sense for him to be kind of annoying and just just super, I guess, ecstatic all the time. He's like the annoying little brother, because he's just like filled with energy all the time. That's why he can run so fast.
Yeah. So most of the time when you're caught with these characters, and it's just pretty much spur of the moment type of thing when you're deciding to throw something in. Yeah.
Exactly.
That's interesting, because I always wondered that, like, if there's a process there, or if it was just like, what can we use here? And then you just got a Cookie Monster, little puppet sitting in the corner. You're like, let's put that in there, and then it just becomes a running thing.
Exactly. Yeah. No, that's pretty much how it's been for every new character. Sometimes, we'll think, what sort of character would fit this role in this video? Whether to, contrast with me, or what sort of interaction do we need with Chuchington? And so we'll think through the list and think, who would make sense here. But other than that, not much planning or preparation.
Okay, fair enough. And with the themes as well, when you make those, because obviously you have a different variety of videos, and they are all different, but you do have those core ones that are running themes. When you first come up with those initial ideas, do you always, like, when you think of it from the get-go, do you think of it as being a theme, or do you just think of it as being like one video? And then if it does well and you see a lot of like people enjoying it, then does it become a theme after that? Because for instance, I'll just explain one type, just for people listening. Jeffrey has, like, one of these themes is, for example, a video where he'll be throwing an object at something. There's one where it's a tree, and every time he throws the object up, like it begins with a ball and you keep trying to get the ball out of the tree. And the joke of the video is you keep getting more and more things stuck in the tree. Now you've done other videos like that also, just that same concept, but you carried it along to different things. I think one was you did it with basketball net as well. So yeah, when you're caught with those kind of reoccurring videos, does it start off as just a standalone video and afterwards you think, actually, we've got something there? Or do you think of it from the get-go?
It depends. For that one, that was definitely the case. I very clearly remember how that one came to be. We were sitting at a food court, this was pretty early on when I first started working with Garrett, and we were scripting together, and he went to the bathroom and he got a call from his mom, and his mom said something along the lines of, or he said something, I forget if it was he said something or his mom said something along the lines of, communicating with you and your dad, or I guess if it was Garrett, communicating with you and dad is like throwing a ball in a tree or something like that. And, I forget, there's some sort of old saying, I can't remember exactly. I hate that I can't remember right now, but
it's okay.
Literally him just saying that line prompted, the idea for this video. And so it was like a brand new concept at the time. We went out and we filmed it. Those ones actually take a lot of time.
I can imagine.
Yeah, some of the ones at home, I think our shortest shoot was maybe half an hour. But then that one took like 4.5 hours.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I guess as well, because obviously all these things are getting stuck in the tree, but you're physically having to get them stuck in the tree. Yeah. And then for the basketball net one, that would have been even harder because you had less room. Because I think you at one point you got one of the basketballs stuck, and then you threw a second basketball. Yeah. And then that got stuck as well. Yeah. So to even get it to that point, it would have took you ages, I bet.
Exactly. We had to climb a ladder and, really force them in because they always wanted to, roll back out. Yeah, that one started off as a standalone video and it obviously did really well. And so we were trying to think of ways that we could apply it to other, relatable, scenarios. Because ultimately it does have a bit of a nostalgic aspect to it. When you're a kid, you're playing with a ball and you get it stuck somewhere, or it goes over
in a
your
tree
neighbor's fence. Yeah. And so that one, I think we did well because it has, the aspect of nostalgia as well as the comedy. But for other things, like we recently started doing prank stars, we just find those really fun. And so without seeing how it did, we, scripted 4 or 5 of them. Ultimately, so far, it hasn't done very well compared to my other videos. So we might end up scrapping at least, a couple of the ones that we've already scripted. But that's a scenario where, we scripted out a whole series before we, had proof of concept or proof that it would do well.
Right, okay.
Yeah, so it varies.
Got you.
Yeah.
No, for sure. And I think even though when they don't perform as well, it's just good to try out new things, I think, too. But yeah, no, I really enjoyed those prank star ones, but I think it's it's a bit of trial and error sometimes, and I think it's just also trying to figure out what else you can do that's different for the audience to enjoy. So yeah, it makes sense, like trying to want to try new stuff like that as well. But yeah, I'm really impressed with how you've kept these themes up and going for so long, because you just manage to add something new every time. So it really is amazing. So you hit 1 million subscribers in 2024. What is it like reaching milestones like this? And, how does that rapid growth impact you as a creator?
I don't think it's really impacted me that much. I think ultimately, each day I just make videos. That's what I enjoy doing the most. Right. To me, I don't really see it on that, macro level. I see it more on the micro level of just, waking up, coming up with new ideas.
Just enjoying the moment as the content creation process.
Yeah, totally. I feel like I have the same view on things as I did when I was, at 100,000 or at 10,000.
Right.
It's just me and my friends having fun, just, being goofy and, making, trying to make people laugh. Like,
Yeah.
when I was in high school, I'd do stupid things when I had, one friend watching or two friends watching. And
Right.
so, it doesn't ultimately influence how I do things. Obviously, 1 million, it feels nice. It's something that I always wanted to achieve as a kid. I actually made my first YouTube video when I was, I think, 10 years old. It's still on
Okay.
YouTube.
Was that comedy related then?
It was, yeah. We
Okay.
did, I think, one comedy video, and we remade like scenes from a movie a couple of times. But yeah, it's something that I'm sure my younger self would be super proud of achieving.
That's awesome.
Yeah, but in the moment, it just feels like, there's still more fun to be had. There's still more work to be done. I don't know. It never really feels like I've, succeeded or I've made it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, I feel like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like I always want more, and
Okay.
I think I should be grateful for what I've done. I think
Mhm.
it also is influenced by the fact that I'm a shorts creator, and I think
Mhm.
that it's a lot easier to grow as a shorts creator than as a long form creator. And so,
For sure.
yeah, if I were to achieve this as a long form creator, I think I would probably feel more accomplished.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah, that makes sense. But don't, take anything away from the fact that what you're doing, though, is you're doing such a good job at like some people, they can make shorts and they can perform really well, but then they can struggle to keep it up.
Mhm.
You're succeeding, but keeping it going as well
Mhm.
with the video ideas, and the views are coming through on those videos as well. So even though it's just shorts, it still is really good just to keep that momentum there. Like I said earlier, like in you guys, you just don't seem to run out of ideas and always bring something fresh to the table. So I think that itself is brilliant to just have under your locker, that in your disposal, that you just have so many unique things you bring to the table.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I do think, as any creator, whether you're a shorts creator, a long form creator, or, a movie maker, like, it all comes down to, good storytelling, good, content principles. If you consistently apply those, like, I think that's what a lot of creators who don't, who haven't experienced the best longevity, I think that's where they struggle.
So you just said that as a kid that you used to love making people laugh. So it sounds like comedy then has been a big core of your childhood from the get-go. And so I guess it isn't so much of a surprise then to look forward, like if you were like as a child looking into the future, to see that you're kind of still doing that now.
Yeah, totally. Some of my earliest memories from, when I was a very small child are, making people laugh. Some of my favorite moments throughout my life are, good jokes I've told and just scenarios where, when I think back, a lot of my memories are from scenarios where I've made myself or others laugh really hard. So
Yeah, that's cool. And I think I was saying it actually on the first episode of this podcast, to the guest on there, who's my friend, Will. I was having a discussion about, as a child, I think in a lot of people, when you have that creativity, it's put into you at such a early age. It's just, it's amazing how early you can start to form that. So like me with video editing, like
I never really put two and two together, but now I do it as a career, and I've been doing it since 2018 as a career. I look back at when I was a kid, and I used to do like home movies basically, and I suddenly started to realize, I started doing this from such a young age, and I loved it, and now I'm doing it now. It's amazing to see that when you have a hobby or a passion or something, and it turns into something else. And I think those seeds are there, growing from the very beginning.
Yeah, totally. I think we're both very fortunate to be able to do something that, we've clearly always wanted to do since we were little. There was a long time in my life where I was traveling a different route, and the whole time it just didn't feel like it was for me. I worked an office job for many years. I was working as a project manager, and each day I would show up to work and it would feel like a waste of my life. I would be, sitting there pretending to work. I hated the small talk with the colleagues, Yeah.
I can relate.
Yeah. And so, this definitely is just, a bit of a dream come true.
Yeah, it's similar scenario to me. I used to have a sales job. So I was working in an office as well.
Yeah.
It wasn't like everyone there was okay. It wasn't like a toxic atmosphere or anything like that. But I didn't like it.
Yeah.
I used to get really down. I used to come home hating life at the end of the day. I felt really stuck because I was like, I don't want to be doing this, and I knew that. So yeah, it's crazy. And at the time, how I got out eventually is, I guess I rekindled that interest in making videos, and me and my partner, who's, this is way before we got married. She's my wife now, but this is back when we were just dating. So she was just my partner at the time. We started making YouTube videos, but it was just for fun. But it re-sparked that interest of me enjoying like just content. And the videos back then, they weren't that good, but we were just having a good time and a laugh. And I started getting back into it again, and I started enjoying the editing part of it more so than being on camera. And then that's from there where I started like learning that more. And then I suddenly thought, I'm enjoying that. How can I make that into a job that I can do as a career? And yeah, eventually did. So yeah, when you said that, I could really relate to that 100%.
Yeah, that's amazing. Did you end up like quitting your old job or?
So yeah, what I basically ended up doing was when I figured out I wanted to try editing, I started looking for clients, and I started working with a few companies on a part-time basis whilst doing my job. So I was doing my full-time job in sales, then getting home in the evenings and editing.
Oh, wow.
And on the weekends. And then when I got to a point where I think I had two clients, two businesses. One was like a care company for the elderly. And then one was, they provided financial advice for like entrepreneurs. So they're both businesses. They weren't creators or like, anything like I'm doing now. But that's how I got into it. But once I got those two on board, I had the confidence. I was like, I found those two. I can find more. And I started talking to people. Other people were expressing interest. And I was like, I feel like I can do this. I'm going to take the leap and do it. Spoke to my dad about it. He was very worried at the time. I spoke to, my wife, who was just, as I said, my girlfriend back then. And what was crazy, and I guess high risk as well, we were literally just moving out as I decided to take a leap into freelance. We had our mortgage secure though, and we had the house secure, but it was scary because we were moving in to the house. This is me and at the time, as I said, it was just, we were just girlfriend, boyfriend, moving into a new home for the very first time, living together for the first time. And I knew at that moment something happened to me where I was like, I know this is the time to do it, and this is my chance now. Just something hit me.
And I think when I got those first 2 clients, my dad and Emily, who's, you know, my wife, they had confidence when I had those 2 clients that I could get more, because they could see I got them and I was getting work from them. And they saw that, okay, he knows kind of what he's doing and he's going in the right direction. So yeah. But that's that anyway. That's just the summary of the start of my freelance journey, pretty much.
That's great. Yeah, it's so important to believe in yourself, and also to have people that you care about that believe in you as well.
For sure.
Yeah.
So was it a similar situation then with your work? What happened for you the day you decided you wanted to quit?
I originally quit my job and I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I knew my mom had always wanted me to pursue medicine.
Okay.
So I studied for...
Was that an interest of yours?
I don't think it was a real interest of mine, but I pursued it anyway because I wanted to, you know, make my mom happy. But then what ended up happening was, you know, 2 years later, I hadn't studied, you know, more than 10 minutes. Yeah. Like it was very clear that, you know, it wasn't something that I truly cared about or wanted to do. And I had been working a new office job for 6 or 7 months. And this is around the beginning of 2022. They laid me off. And, you know, I realized I'm on employment insurance now. I had a friend who was doing content creation and was doing pretty well. And so, you know, he was like, you know, you should pursue this as well. I'll help you. And his name is Damien, and he helped me a lot in the beginning. He helped me edit and come up with ideas for my first probably like 10 or 15 videos before, you know, I felt like I had a good grasp of it and I could start doing things myself. But even then, you know, he's continued to help me throughout the first year or so. And yeah, I think having a good mentor like that really gave me the confidence to fully pursue it. And I was also fortunate enough to not only be on EI, but also, you know, come from a relatively, you know, fortunate background that I didn't have to worry about like not making money. I didn't make any money for the first year and a half. And so just that combination made all of this possible.
Yeah, no, that's super important to have a mentor like that you can kind of follow. So yeah, I feel like networking, having those connections is super good. If whatever direction you want to go in, just try and network with as many people as possible in that area that you're looking to go into, because it really helps.
Yeah, totally. And I can definitely relate with, you know, what you said about your dad and your girlfriend. Like, my mom asked me what I wanted to do because I just gotten laid off. And I was a bit ashamed to tell her at first because I didn't know the direction that she wanted me to go in. And I know, you know, this is quite different from it. But, you know, I just said, you know, fuck it. And I told her. And then her first reply was, I think you can do it. And that was, you know, huge for me because, yeah, it meant a lot for her to say that to me. And it was after that I really, you know, went full speed ahead.
Yeah, that's super important because, like I said, when it came to my, you know, position and we were moving out and I was looking to my dad and, you know, Emily at the time, and I feel like it could have swayed my decision if one of them standing firm was like, don't do this, absolutely don't do this. It could have, you know, it was great that I had the support there to then give me that belief but I had the belief, but it's like I needed their belief that I could do it as well, and it really did help.
Totally.
So I think that's really important.
Yeah, these are, you know, two of the most important people to you, two of the people you trust the most. Their opinions could totally, you know, sway us in one way or the other.
Yeah, and I think it's important to follow passions in life. I feel like at the end of the day, life is too short. If you're not enjoying what you're doing,
why are you doing it? That's how I feel. I just feel like, you know, everyone has enjoyments in different things. Like some people are fine like with like those types, like with my office job, you know, some people love working in an office atmosphere. That's for them. Other people like different areas. Whatever your area and your passion is, whatever you're enjoying in life and you're getting fulfillment out of, great. But if you're doing something that you're hating, it's really getting you down, and you know you can get depressed, and or your energy is just going, then I just think it's not good to carry on doing it. Like, look for that change and look at all those different things, like what you enjoy. Like for me, like there's that light bulb moment when I started doing YouTube videos again with Emily at the time.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I really like doing this. How can I make it into a career? I think it's looking at those things and trying to. Some of this is easier said than done, but I think, yeah, it's important. I think.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's really important.
Yeah. No, it's definitely, you know, more difficult for some than others. Like I can totally imagine if you're working a job that even though you hate, but, you know, you need the money and, you know, the job market, I don't know about the UK, but it's not that good in Canada right now. I can definitely, I can definitely understand, you know, not being able to fully pursue what you want to do because of the circumstances.
Yeah, and a lot of it sometimes comes down to money as well.
Exactly.
Like you said, in your situation, you were fortunate when you didn't need to earn straight away because you that wasn't something that would affect you. But for other people, they can't make that leap sometimes because they've got a ton of bills or mortgage above them, and it's then trying to find other ways around it. And I think that's kind of what I did at the start. Like for my way around it was start part-time at first and grind in the evenings and on weekends. So I think whatever way you can find to fit something in, that like I think it's good to try to do that if you can.
Yeah.
But it's difficult. It's difficult out there.
For sure. Yeah, I agree.
So going back to your channel and content creation in general, as we've touched on, having a support system in place is really good to have, and luckily you've had a lot of that. Like you said, you had a friend at the very start, and now you've got Garrett, and from watching your videos you also have a core group of people as well that feature in your videos quite a bit. Like I see a lot of regular faces. So what kind of like roles are they all? Like Garrett, as you mentioned, he does the script writing and helps you with general ideas. Do you find the whole of like your inner circle, are they all doing that as well, or do you have separate things? Do some of them just help with the videos on the day?
Yeah.
Like what does that breakdown look like for you? And also with Garrett, how did that come about? Like how did you guys meet?
Sure. Garrett, we met through a mutual friend, to put it simply, and you know, he's a super funny, charismatic guy. He's always the life of the party. And I really liked that quality about him. Like, you know, as soon as I met him, I just found him super funny. And at the time he was working for another YouTuber, but he had some capacity to edit for me. So he actually started out as an editor. But then over time, he became more and more involved with my stuff. And I realized, you know, how talented he is as an actor. He used to do professional theater straight out of high school.
I get that vibe from him as well, with the acting, for sure.
He's a super talented actor. And so I started filming more with him, and he was working 2 jobs at the time, and he left them both to work with me. And, you know, we just took off from there. Like
That's awesome.
Yeah, he's the only one who's, I guess, other than my editor, who's employed by me. Everybody else you see are my friends.
So they just help out whenever you need them, really.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
With Garrett, it's like, you know, we're filming X amount of videos this week. I have them in a schedule, and he'll come in to work. And then if we need other people for videos, I'll reach out to, you know, Humphrey or Tanner or Justin used to be my roommate. So he was kind of always around. Yeah. And so, yeah, I appreciate all of them a lot. Like, you know, I appreciate how willing they are to be in the videos, but also, you know, Garrett's so talented. And then, you know, Humphrey is, you know, willing to do anything to make a good video. As long as it makes the video better, he'll be willing to do it. Same with Tanner. Like, everybody's really eager to make the video as good as possible. And I think I'm really lucky to have that.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's amazing to have such a core group of friends that can help with the content creation process. And I guess you can all bounce off each other as well. And it helps you. And also you can have fun with it, like when you're with your friends, of course.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that comes across in the videos too.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's really good.
Yeah. With them, I feel like I can, you know, truly be myself, truly be super stupid and goofy. You know, when I'm definitely someone who's a bit more reserved and, you know, shy meeting new people. But then with them, it's just like, it's just a lot of fun.
Before comedy videos, you posted a lot of gym and weightlifting content. So what sparked the initial, firstly, how did you get started with the gym stuff? And then what sparked the switch then to change to comedy? Obviously, you did say you've always been interested in it, but how did that, you know, starting from gym, then to switch, how did that all happen?
So I started working out 12 years ago when I was in grade 12.
Okay.
And, you know, I was kind of on and off for a few years, but then I got really into it in around 2016. And I started, you know, obsessing over it. I'd be working my office job and I'd be, you know, on Reddit, learning about everything there is to know about fitness and lifting weights and trying to optimize things as much as possible. And I became pretty involved in competitive powerlifting in Canada. Yeah. And so that was a huge part of my life for many years. You know, my daily routine was, you know, wake up, go to work, go to the gym. I'd be at the gym for 3 or 4 hours every day. All my nutrition was optimized for powerlifting, and then I'd sleep. That was my routine every single day. I'd gym 6 days a week for, you know, several years.
Wow.
And so I think it kind of made sense that because I was so just obsessed with powerlifting, that would be, you know, the content that I would make at the beginning, especially because my mentor I met through powerlifting and we were both very into lifting. Even though I was making gym content, a lot of it, pretty much all of it, still had comedy aspects because I feel like that's a part of who I am. And it's really important to me. I think the switch was gradual. I wanted to, you know, kind of break out of that niche and be able to reach a wider audience. But at the same time, it kind of coincided with me falling out of love with the gym. And I think a big part of that had to do with how much I dislike the fitness industry as a whole.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. To me, I think the fitness industry is awful. I think, you know, it's a bunch of, there's so much, you know, vanity and narcissism, and it's basically, you know, buy my supplements, buy my workout program, buy my clothes, buy my, you know, buy my lifting equipment, and you can look like me. But ultimately, you can't really look like me because, you know, I'm on steroids, or, you know, I've been training for 10 years, whereas all of you are just starting. And I think having been in the industry, you know, meeting some of the people and kind of knowing how much they don't actually care about the people that they're basically just making their living off of, it really turned me away from the fitness industry as a whole. And it made me, it turned me away from the fitness industry, and just going to the gym in general appealed to me a lot less.
God, yeah.
And so I started.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. I was out of the gym.
That's super sad though. that it can be like that. No, I mean the industry on a whole, how it can be.
Exactly.
And I can understand.
Mm-hmm. And I don't think, so many of them, pretty much all of them, are either in bodybuilding or powerlifting. And I don't think either of those, they're labeled as fitness content or, health content, but I don't think either of them are actually healthy. Bodybuilding,
Right.
Anybody who goes into bodybuilding develops an array of eating disorders and just like disordered behavior, obsession with, optimizing everything for the sake of, looking as lean or as good as possible.
For sure.
And with powerlifting, I was pretty heavily involved with that. And pretty much everybody around me was pushing through some sort of, nagging injury that they were just ignoring because they only prioritized, the numbers on the bar. They didn't care about their overall well-being or their longevity. And that's just something that I really dislike about that whole industry.
Yeah.
And I think, a common argument is, well, it's better than being obese. But I definitely think there are more truly healthy and productive ways that, the content could be approached. And
right.
Yeah.
No, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And yeah, as I said, like, the gym and fitness stuff, it has to be done in the right way, I think. But yeah, I can imagine, like, I'm not a gym goer myself, so I don't see the ins and outs of what it's like on a week by week basis, like, and the people you're around, but I can imagine it. And I can imagine sometimes how the atmospheres sometimes could be quite, I guess, not the best to be around sometimes. I think if you're doing that type of thing as a hobby or what, or if you're in that kind of, I don't know, you're just trying to get fit yourself, I think it's good to just look at all the right ways to do it, but also surround yourself with the right people to do it as well.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
But yeah, that makes sense though. Like, so you kind of lost an interest in that. The passion was gone for it, so you moved on, and you're now doing what you're doing today still.
Yeah.
So going forwards, do you have any more dream projects or ideas that you want to bring to life on your channel or in other areas? It doesn't have to be just the Chuchington channel. It could be any other areas that you would like to try out in the future. Do you have anything at the minute that springs to mind that is a goal of yours?
I've never really been someone that thinks super long term. I don't really have any ideas what I want to. I don't really have any, dream projects per se. I did recently start a new company with my good friend Humphrey, and we're basically helping to scale brands and companies through content creation and just improving their social media. But that's not really, long term. I guess ultimately a goal would be to, grow that business to the point where it's like, nationwide or international.
Sure.
And also just, keep the Chuchington channel growing. That's definitely a big goal of mine. But in terms of like new projects and whatnot, I can't really think of anything. I can think of, personal milestones or personal life happenings like getting married and, having children within the next 10, 15 years. Definitely not within the next like 5, I think or at least having kids. I think, I'm still pretty young and I want to explore my career more because, I feel like there's so many years in my 20s where I didn't care at all about my career. And I just started making content, 2 or 3 years ago. And I feel like there's still so much that I want to explore in this before I have children. And
that makes sense.
Yeah, I also want to be in a position financially where I can comfortably just focus fully on the kids. And so I guess financial freedom is a goal.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And I don't know if it's the same in Canada, but I know from my friends and that from in the US, and when I went over, because I stayed with some friends, me and my wife did while we were over there as well, they always tell us how expensive it is over there.
Yeah.
Compared to it over here, I'm like, yeah, it is, things can be expensive still, but America is just another ballgame, like a different level. So I don't know if Canada's the same on the same level, but if it is, I can imagine how costly things are.
Yeah.
Especially like houses and stuff as well.
Yeah, exactly. I live in Vancouver, and it's probably the most expensive in Canada.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
And so, yeah, ultimately, I'd like to, keep living around here, but, that'll take a lot of. It's just more expensive. Yeah, it'll take more capital.
So it's been real great speaking to you today, Jeffrey, about, your channel and what drives you, and going into the ins and outs of what you everything you find passionate, and the comedy style of videos that you do. As I said at the start of this podcast, please go and check out his channel if you haven't already. As I mentioned, it's like Chuchington, but without the R, so it's Chuchington. So just think Chuchington, but remove the R. That's how you spell the channel name, and you can be found on all platforms as well, all social media platforms under that name. So go and check him out. Thank you so much for coming on here today. I've really enjoyed speaking to you.
Thank you, Thomas. It was genuinely a pleasure.
So thanks again for everyone for tuning in to this episode of Exploring Every Angle. I'll be back again soon with another episode. So bye for now. Take care.